All right, well, good hoops tonight here at the Volume. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having an incredible week. Today's film session, we're going to hit all 4 games from the second round series that we had from around the league. Bunch of different concepts that I want to get into with all of the teams involved. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. We are on the pathway to 150,000 subs. It would mean a lot to me if you guys would take a second to hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, hit that like button or sign up for post notifications. That would help us a lot as well. All right, let's dig into the basketball. So with Lakers Thunder, I want to focus on a couple of different things. Some of the specific things that the OKC defense does that makes life hell on ball handlers. And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the sloppiness that the Lakers need to clean up. And then lastly, I want to talk about some of the ways that Shai can get going against the type of defense that he is facing. So without any further ado, I want to show you guys an example of the pressure that OKC plays with in their switching scheme that makes it more complicated for the ball handlers. So what we have here is we have a classic Austin LeBron pick and roll, an action that we've seen for years now. And one of the things you'll see with a lot of teams is when they do switching, they'll do passive switching. So you'll see a screen, and there'll be a switch, and this guy will be more focused on contain. He'll maybe meet this Austin drive more down by the elbow, and this guy has a little bit more opportunity to be comfortable as he's dribbling off the screen. Watch how Dort immediately meets Austin with physicality, right? So what is happening here with LeBron and Cason Wallace, LeBron has an opportunity for a couple of different things. He might be looking for an inside seal. Now, Cason does a good job, so the inside seal is not open. But LeBron might turn around and look to post, and you can actually see, watch LeBron bring his right elbow up and get it into Cason's back to prepare. He's getting ready to push on his back so that he can turn and post him. But because Dort met Austin with so much physicality, he caused him to pick up his dribble and panic and rush a pass. Then to make matters worse, look at the contest from Dort. We talked about this concept last night. Even if there was some sort of opening to lead LeBron into that gap, because Dort gets such a good contest, it now becomes an extremely difficult pass in terms of just getting it to the right target spot. On the contest, Dort might even get a piece of this. So as a result, it's not in anywhere where LeBron can do anything with it. Cason's able to tap it away. It goes the other direction. This was a brilliant defensive possession from the Thunder. Watch the different efforts from Isaiah Joe. It starts with Alex Caruso with some ball pressure on Austin. Look at the immediate, oh, you caught the ball. You think you're coming off towards the left side clear. No, Alex is swiping down at the basketball and causing him to lose control. But after that, we're going to get into a screen with Luke Kennard. This is a textbook hedge and recover from Isaiah Joe. So Isaiah Joe's trying to not get switched. So watch how aggressively he shoots out and attacks the basketball, which forces Austin. Look at Austin literally have to panic and fade because of the hedge from Isaiah Joe. But Isaiah, as soon as he goes, he plants that left foot and he recovers back to Luke. So there's no opening there. So he's successful. That is as picture perfect a hedge and recover as you'll ever see. Force the ball handler to basically panic retreat and get rid of the ball, but then still get back in time to make sure that there's no opening. After that, we get a ball screen attack here. As Austin starts to work downhill, he sees Isaiah Joe in the gap, right? So once again, for Austin, he's making the right read. As we've talked about, OKC, when they load up on the ball, there are kick out reads, right? Austin throws the kick out to Luke. Watch Isaiah Joe recover out to Luke and recover. And one of the big things here too is Isaiah knows as soon as Austin really loses his advantage, as soon as Austin had to plant there, he's already done his job. There's no more driving past Alex Caruso. That advantage is gone, right? So Isaiah knows I no longer need to linger here. So before Austin even gets rid of the ball, he starts recovering, right? Now, by the time Austin's gotten rid of the basketball, he's already halfway back to Luke, gets back, throws a closeout. Luke drives. Look at Isaiah Joe contain the basketball. Does a great job getting to where Luke wants his pull-up, right? Luke goes to the step-through move. On the step-through move, we're going to have another opening generate. Watch. As he goes for the step-through, look at Jay Will. Jay Will's like, I'm going to block this thing. But Isaiah Joe has this great contest, right? So even though Jackson is technically kind of open, we have this stunt from Jay Will and a great contest from Isaiah Joe. So suddenly that passing window becomes very tiny. and it goes way too far behind Jackson. So he's not able to secure it. Damn near loses it out of bounds. And then to tie the possession off, Isaiah Joe uses his length to get this steal along the baseline. One of the things you notice with OKC is even their weaker defenders have really long arms and pretty good size to where they can play passing lanes and get deflections. Unbelievable defensive possession from Isaiah Joe there. Here's an example of the Lakers getting a little ahead of themselves and a role player making a ball handling error. So here we have Jake LaRavia up the floor. One of the things I want you to keep an eye on here. So LeBron's thinking, let's beat this pressure by throwing it up to Jake. But Marcus and Jackson have no urgency getting up the floor. So because no one's up the floor, Alex Caruso kind of sees the whole thing happening, right? He looks over to his right and he reads the floor and he goes, there's only one Laker in the front court. And Jake can't throw the ball into the backcourt. So Alex goes, screw it. I'm going to throw an impromptu trap. He literally reads the floor and goes, great time for me to trap. Runs over and traps, right? The only real open guy is LeBron, but he's not that open. He's running full speed into the guy who's guarding him. Jackson's guarded, Luke Kennard's guarded. So this trap is essentially a 5-on-4 defensively. You have 5 Thunder players in the front court, only 4 Lakers. So Jake has no choice but to try to throw a pass to LeBron. But like, look, great pressure from Caruso forces him to go with this like kind of sidewinding bounce pass, and he throws it behind LeBron. So again, even if he would have, if he puts it right on target, LeBron catches it, maybe he can turn the corner on Hartenstein and get all the way to the rim, either score or draw Isaiah Joe and help in the 3 to Kennard. So the advantage is there, but it's a tough pass because of the pressure behind LeBron leads to a turnover. Here's a classic case of one of those perceived openings that's not really an opening. One of the first possessions of the fourth quarter, I think it's the first possession. We're going to get another 2-man game sequence with Luke Kennard and LeBron. So LeBron goes into the shovel pass into the ball screen. Watch as Luke comes off. Alex Caruso shows. Okay, pocket pass is open, right? Alex Caruso's there. Pocket pass is open. Alex plants that left leg, gets that hand out, gets a deflection on the ball, and just barely gets enough of the ball to cause LeBron to lose control in the pocket. Looks like an opening, not really an opening against that OKC defense. Pocket pass turnovers were a huge problem in the regular season and in this matchup last night, something the Lakers are going to have to be way more careful with. Look at this super lazy pocket pass from Marcus Smart. You can't get away with this lazy shit against the Thunder. Like, and again, the only way the pocket is open is if you engage this guy. But Marcus, by clearly not looking to score at all, and like he's not even inside the 3-point line yet, and just casually throws it, Isaiah is just keyed in on the basketball the whole time. He's got to actually attack downhill. He's got a gap there. Attack downhill. He takes one more dribble. Then Isaiah has to commit, and either the pocket is open or the skip to LeBron is open. But you can't be lazy like that. And that's how it goes with the Thunder. They just wear you down. And then you start to look at the scoreboard and you're like, oh, we're down 13. And you just kind of lose your focus and you start making mistakes. Alex Caruso gets it done. I thought this was one of my favorite plays from the game last night for this OKC defense. And again, Isaiah Joe, who I just was amazed by. We get this DHO coming off of the cleared side here on the right. Jay Will shows perceived opening, right? The opening to Jackson. Now, I thought Austin rushed this a little bit, but he saw the opening. And look at the contest from both Thunder players. Look at Isaiah Joe. So he's guarding Luke Kennard, and Luke Kennard's clearing, and yet he stays under the rim. Him and Shai are on top of it. Shai's prepared for Luke if he goes out, and it's Jake LaRavia and the dunker, right? Look at this rim contest from Isaiah Joe. How many guards are meeting Jackson Hayes at the summit to get enough of a contest to cause Jackson to miss a wide open dunk? Unbelievable defensive effort from Isaiah Joe, really the entire Thunder squad last night. Okay, I wanted to show you guys 2 examples real quick of ways that Shai can get going against the double teaming that we're seeing. And it really just comes down to catching and ripping. If you catch an attack before the defense comes, there can't be a double. Like, look, as he's working against Marcus, there's basically a soft triple team between Jackson, LeBron, and Marcus. So he gets rid of the basketball. Watch as he catches it back. He's just going to catch and immediately rip. catch, go. That doesn't, even though Rui's coming, Rui's planning to double, see? But it doesn't matter. He's catching and he's ripping and he's getting downhill easily for a little pull-up jump shot over Jackson Hayes. Same sort of thing here in the second half on Marcus Smart. Shai's going to catch at the top. Don't wait for the double. Just rip. Go right by him, right? So Jackson's coming. You can see Jackson coming, but it's just too late because it's like he's catching and immediately on the catch, he's ripping. And he's able to get by Marcus and finish through Jake LaRavia at the rim. So one of the ways that Shai can provide more scoring and make them less dependent on catch and shoot play under the circumstances with the way that the Lakers are guarding him. If they were to go cold from the perimeter, that's a counter for Shai to try to get some more easy shots for him at the rim. All right, Pistons Cavs. I was really, really fascinated with the crunch time sequences and the quality of shots between the two teams. So I wanted to dive into that concept. Today's show is brought to you by presenting sponsor Hard Rock Bet, Florida's sportsbook. The second round of the NBA playoffs is here, where the lights are brighter, the pressure is higher, and every possession can change a series. And at Hard Rock Bet, every night is your shot to score a major bucket. With win or go home energy on the hardwood, I love building same game parlays. You might like the hot hand to drop 30, the big man to control the glass with a double-double, and the point guard to dish out 5 assists. However you draw it up, Hard Rock Bet gives you tons of ways to stack your picks into a same-game parlay built for the playoffs. If you're ever late for tip-off, don't worry. Hard Rock Bet lets you live bet all game long from the first bucket to the final buzzer. Try your first bet on Hard Rock Bet today, and you can score $150 in bonus bets if you win. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you get not only your winnings, but also an extra $150 in bonus bets. Hard Rock Bet has new promos daily, so open up the app right now to see what promo you've got today. And sure, Hard Rock Bet is Florida's only legal sportsbook, but you don't have to be in Florida to join the party. Hard Rock Bet is also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, Colorado, and Michigan, with more states on the way. Download the Hard Rock Bet app today, and let's get the party started. It starts with the run for the Cavs, and specifically the job that James Harden was doing on both ends of the floor. He's got the Asar Thompson matchup here with Evan Mobley off, and watch him roaming. So Asar Thompson clears to the left corner. We have a ball screen. We're setting up stack with Duncan Robinson, right? So because of that, Jared Allen is trying to find the back screen, but he just gets knocked off by Duncan. Really good back screen by Duncan, right? So as a result, the pocket pass is wide open. Danis throws the pocket pass to Jalen Duren. Watch James Harden completely ignore Asar Thompson, get in there. Duren exposes the basketball. Harden strips it off his leg. So you can see the Asar Thompson problem starting to kind of show at the surface here. On the other end of the floor, what ended up being the story of the Cavs offense down the stretch, hunting Duncan Robinson. But I want you to keep an eye on this possession because there's a timing concept that ends up being a factor later on. So they actually throw a little hedge and recover here, right? So Duncan's trying to hedge, but Jalen Tyson gets an inside seal. And so when they end up rotating, Duncan ends up matched up with James Harden in a position where they'd have to just outright double him rather than hedge or anything, right? So as a result, he gets an opportunity to get downhill, gets to his right hand, hits the floater. But you can kind of see the space, Jalen Duren kind of start to time it, right? So Duren doesn't get the block on this one. Harden makes it, but keep an eye on that because that ends up being a factor later on. Another roaming possession here. Now, Tobias ends up getting a pretty decent look at a right shoulder fade that we know he can make, but watch James Harden. So obviously, Tobias can hit this. Strus flops. Tobias ends up missing the jump shot off of the broke rhythm. But look at where Harden is at the time of the shot attempt. Harden is completely off of Asar and in the paint. So even if like after the knockdown, if Tobias wanted to just be like, oh, Strus is on his back, I'm going to step through and either engage Allen for a drop off or get a layup, Harden's there to take that away. So the Asar Thompson thing was really starting to show, and I think JB Bickerstaff made a judgment call under the circumstances. And again, if he's making plays on defense, that's great. But here we are on the ensuing possession, and he fouls James Harden on a three by just getting a little overzealous with his contest. Questionable call, yeah, sure. But the point is, the Asar Thompson thing was kind of hurting them on both ends of the floor. So then we end up going to a lineup without Asar Thompson on the floor. Now, the way that the Cavs are looking to attack this is by putting Duncan Robinson into screening action. This time, James Harden turns the corner, but Duren sees the whole thing coming. Duren's camping on it the whole time. Watch Duren time this much better, gets over, blocks it. But there's another part to this play. Watch Tobias. Tobias gets in and gets a body on Jared Allen to box him out. And then watch Duncan Robinson come over. Actually, it's a different possession I'm thinking about with Duncan. But Tobias gets in and gets a body on Jared Allen just enough to kind of keep him off the ground. And then Jalen Duren's able to clean it up and get the rebound. Now, watch how the spacing improves for the Pistons here with Ausar Thompson off the floor. So we have standard 4-out spacing, right? We have both corners. Danis is getting out to the corner. Duncan's in the corner. Tobias is on the wing. James Harden is going to dig, but he's not going to outright double like he was earlier. So we get like kind of a transition brush screen. Duren makes enough contact to get Dean Wade to kind of open his stance up. So Cade's able to get downhill, gets into the lane. Again, if that's Ausar Thompson, James is just straight up doubling. But because it's Tobias Harris, a reasonably credible shooter, we just get a passive little wave, just a little dig, right? On that dig, Cade elevates through it, gets Jared Allen off the ground. Again, Strus isn't helping because that's Duncan Robinson. Tyson's not helping because that's Danis Jenkins. Now look at Jalen Duren, wide open under the basket, easy dunk. On the other end of the floor, we're going to get an Evan Mobley inverted screen. Actually, I'm on a different one here. This is when they start hedging to protect Duncan Robinson. Sorry, I have 39 clips. So sometimes I get them a little confused. Okay, so we're going to see a hedge and recover to try to protect Duncan. He hedges, gets out. As a result, they're in rotation, right? Cade has to step up to Max Strus. But watch the rotation from Duncan. And this is a quality hedge. Gets out and hedges. Forces Harden to pick up his dribble. Cade recovers. Look at Duncan rotating. Tobias rotates to Jalen Tyson. Duncan, there's just a tiny bit of a little show from Duren to make sure that Dean Wade doesn't appear open. Boom, advantage gone. Now everyone's matched up again. Danis gets back onto James Harden. Jalen Tyson, now there's 8 seconds on the shot clock, has no choice but to try to make something happen. He drives it to Tobias and gets a really tough one-legged runner. So good little hedge there from Duncan. They do botch one of those later, which you guys will see. But that's what they were. That really was the story of the offensive run or the offensive possessions for Cleveland down the stretch. They were trying to attack Duncan. Okay, now this is more 4-out 1 in spacing with more of a instead of pick and roll, we're looking at a just a straight up drive. So again, Danis goes up like he's gonna set a pick, but Jalen Tyson's not helping off of him because he's a shooter. Off of that, we have 4-out 1 in spacing. Duren in the dunker. We have Duncan Robinson in the right corner, Tobias Harris in the left corner. Look at all this space in the middle of the floor. How many times did we see that in the Orlando Magic series? But Cade is able to turn the corner on Strus. Once again, get Jared Allen off the ground. And this is where the bully ball element comes into the picture. Look at how Strus is kind of physically overwhelmed so that when Cade bumps him, Strus is out of the frame, literally sent below the baseline. Jared Allen has no choice but to jump, drop off pass. Now there's just this wide open space for Duren to come in there and clean it up with a dunk. This is easy basketball. This is classic bully ball Detroit Pistons half court offense. Here's the Mobley inverted screen that I was talking about earlier. Got a couple clips ahead of myself. So as you can see, they put Donovan Mitchell as the screener. Because Danis Jenkins on the inside position, Mobley knows that all he has to do is drive off and he's going to get a clean look. But as he comes off, we get an under and from Duren so that he's trying to recover underneath so that if Mobley tries to drive, he can meet him in here somewhere, which of course baits Evan Mobley into a pull-up 3. This season, including the postseason, Evan Mobley's shooting 26% on pull-up 3s. That's a shot that Detroit's going to live with. Off of that shot, watch go in the other direction. We're running out. Watch Duren. He knows Allen's off the floor. It's a one big lineup. He knows that if he can pin Evan Mobley, he's dead to rights. Look at him bully him out. Look at him push him out of the lane. Easy pass and dunk. This is something he could not do to Wendell Carter Jr. Just literally physically mauls Mobley in transition, just pushes him out of the lane. Beautiful left-handed feed from Cade. Easy dunk. That's classic Detroit Pistons bully ball basketball. This was one of those bad hedges from Duncan. So we get a ball screen and there's no hedge from Duncan. So James is able to get downhill too easily and get to the floater. Duren forces him into a tougher one, but a little bit of a botched coverage there on that one. Now we're going to get an inverted screen, or not an inverted screen. We're going to get Cade. Technically, it's inverted because he's like their point guard, but Cade's going to set a screen for Dennis Jenkins. We get our spacing. We're in our classic 4-out-1 in spacing, right? Duren's drop into the dunker, Tobias in the left corner, Duncan in the right corner. Look at Dean Wade top locking Cade. He's top locking Cade because he doesn't want Cade to get the basketball. But what he doesn't realize is, just like we saw in the last possession with Evan Mobley, if you do this, all you have to do is drive off and you're going to get open, right? So Cade ends up setting the back pick. Donovan runs into the screen. But Mobley has just given up 3 dunks to Jalen Duren. So he has no interest in stepping up. He just hangs back. As a matter of fact, as the shot goes up, look at him turn his head. Danis is rising up. He's turning his head. He's going to box out. About as easy as a pull-up jumper as Danis got all night. I thought Danis looked way more comfortable than he did in the Orlando series. Now we're going to get a straight ISO of Max Strus. Or of Donovan Mitchell, excuse me. So we get the pick from Danis that gets the switch. Look at the spacing. Dunker, corner, opposite wing. They're in the gaps, but not enough. Cade gets downhill. Easy little pull-up jumper over Donovan. That was really the adjustment that turned the game around for Detroit. Take Asar Thompson off the floor. It's great spacing for the Pistons bully ball attack. I thought this was just some really impressive gang rebounding here from the Pistons. So Donovan ISOs Cade. Duren helps. Watch the rebounding. Look at Duncan Robinson get in there against Evan Mobley and just get a tap on it. Look at that left hand get up. It's just enough to make it so Mobley can't finish. And then there's Tobias to clean it up. Really nice gang rebounding there. So again, Cade gets beat, but the whole team, even though this is your lesser defensive personnel group, the team just does their job, and as a result, they're able to clean it up. This is another example of the inverted screen and Duren's offensive rebounding ability. So same sort of thing. We're top locking. We're setting up our 4-out-1 in spacing. Cade gets a good pick. That allows Danis to get downhill. They end up switching it, but because they switch out of the top lock, by the time Strus is switching, he's got his back turned to the ball handler. So Danis is able to pretty easily turn the corner on him. This forces Mobley to help as he snakes through the lane. So Mobley helps, snakes through. Mobley follows. But then as Mobley follows, Strus decides he's going to go too. So now both guys go to Danis. Once again, because of the inverted action and the really good spacing that allowed Danis to turn the corner. You can guess what's going to happen next. Duren just buries Evan Mobley. Mobley's hopeless there. Easy offensive rebound. We're kicking it out. On the offensive rebound, we get the ball back to Cade. Cade gets blitzed, but now we have Tobias on James Harden with plenty of space to work. Just crosses him right up and hits the floater. Great looks. Last one here from this game. Harden floater on Duncan. And this is really going to be the kind of like story of this chess match when these two teams go to this lineup. Crosses over, gets back to his left hand, hits the floater. But that's the best that you can do. The best that Mitchell and Harden were able to get down the stretch was tough contested floaters and layups over contests from Jalen Duren. They weren't able to get any offensive rebounds off of them because of the gang rebounding from the Pistons. And on the other end of the floor, it was dunk for Duren, dunk for Duren, dunk for Duren, easy ISO jumper for Cade, easy pull-up jumper for Dennis Jenkins, easy ISO floater for Tobias Harris. And like on the Tobias Harris one, like he had a lob to Duren if he wanted it to. Like these are just better shots. And so that's what concerns me for Cleveland down the stretch of the series is the ability that Detroit has to go to that lineup. All right, moving on to Wolves Spurs. We're going to go fewer from the next couple of games. An example of how the 5-out look just countered the rim protection from Victor Wembanyama. So Wembanyama's on Jaden McDaniels. We're going to get a switch between him and Harrison Barnes on this cut through. And you're going to see this a lot from the Spurs. Whenever there's any sort of interchange where the corner man goes up and a new guy takes the corner, they're almost always going to switch Wemby onto the corner. Why? Because that's where they feel like he can do his most damage as a rim protector when they keep him as the low man as much as possible. But as a result, there's a closeout that forms from that switch. Harrison Barnes, he's on Nas. Now he's not. So now Jaden gets to drive the closeout, turns the corner on Harrison. That forces Wemby to help, which is what he wants to do. That's why he's on the corner, right? But your center is a knockdown shooter. Wide open three for Nas Reed. Wemby can't get out there. Easy three. Same sort of thing here with Julius Randle. As Ant goes into his ISO attack here on Champagny, watch Randle. Wemby wants to help. Randle clears up top. When Randle clears up top, Wemby goes up to the nail. Ant turns the corner. By the time Wemby actually turns to go, Ant's already off the ground. Easy work. That 5-out spacing group kind of neutralized Wemby as a spacer. Now, I'd argue Wemby needs to kind of, especially on Julius and Jaden, kind of refuse the switches. Don't get switched on to Nas. Try to stay on Jaden or Julius and force those guys to shoot. Julius can shoot it, though. I think Jaden in particular is the guy he needs to guard, and he needs to try to not switch that matchup whenever possible. Case in point, Julius is going to get a three here. So we saw the same exact switch. Watch how Wemby is on Jaden, but he points down to Champagny to be like, I'm going to get the corner, so they switch. Which, like, I understand, but I'd almost rather just have Julian stay on Nas and have Wemby sink down and just force them to literally just throw the ball to Jaden here and either shoot a three or drive, because Jaden hasn't shot the three well at all in this postseason run. Ant drives, he draws two. And again, the spacing, because Wemby is terrified of getting out there to, there's a little bit of a defensive three he's fighting there too. But because he's worried about Nas Reed in the corner, he can't really commit. So they end up helping with two guards. Julius Randle's wide open, knocks down the three. Now, typically when we think of Gortat screens, and Gortat screens are when you see your big kind of like post up the big or seal the big so that he can't protect the rim. Typically we see it out of ball screens, but this is an example of it just out of a dive. So they get the switch, right? So now Ant is switched on to Keldon Johnson. Watch Julius. He clears out. He just goes, I'm not even matched up with Wemby, but there's Wemby. I'm just going to post him up. Seals him. Takes him out of the lane. Now Wemby has no shot to protect the rim. Easy layup for Ant. This I thought was a tactical mistake down the stretch. Like, they have Devin Vassell matched up on Jaden McDaniels, and they have Wemby on Terrence Shannon. And one of the ways that they countered that is, again, he's guarding Terrence Shannon. All Terrence has to do is beat Wemby somehow, and there's nobody at the rim, right? So putting him in action was a great way to get Wemby caught up on screens. They have Julius screen Wemby here. Watch as he runs into all this traffic. There's nobody behind him. Easy layup. And again, Keldon's a decent athlete, but TJ Shannon might be the best athlete on the floor, and he's able to get right around him for a layup. It also caused what I would call like a rebounding cross match. So I clipped this one on the offensive rebound, which I probably shouldn't have, so you guys missed it. But on this possession, Wemby's guarding TJ Shannon. And as he clears out, Devin Vassell is on Nas Reed, but Wemby's thinking TJ. He's not thinking Nas. So Nas sinks behind him. And look, when Wemby actually turns, as soon as he turns, Nas has already passed him. If he's matched up on Nas that whole possession, he's going to have an idea of the fact that he's got to keep him off the glass. But because he's matched up on TJ Shannon, it's a rebounding cross match. And so he's not even thinking about Nas. And so Nas is able to sink behind him. And again, that would have been a little bit easier for me to show you if I'd have got the whole possession, but I clipped just the offensive rebound. So that's my fault. But on that possession, Wemby guarding TJ, don't like that matchup because of the inverted action and because of the fact that it caused a rebounding cross match, which ended up leading to an offensive rebound for Nas. So this was a fascinating one where as TJ's looking to drive, Julius is trying to Gortat Wemby, but Keldon's like holding him off. And so he ends up taking both of them out, basically. But Wemby gets just enough of a runway that he's able to still block it. But in the process, all of this congestion causes everybody to hit the ground. So now there's 3 bodies on the ground, and Jaden McDaniels is able to easily clean it up and get in for the offensive rebound in the kick out to Mike Conley. Biggest play of the game. This is another example of why like it's good for them to keep attacking Wemby, even if he's going to block some shots, because if he blocks the shot and the Spurs don't secure the rebound off of the block, it just turns into essentially an offensive rebound with the rim protector kind of out of the picture temporarily. Last 2 possessions of the game that I want to hit. This is one of the biggest advantages for Minnesota in this matchup. They just have more dudes that, regardless of rim protection, can get to a spot short range and knock down an easy shot over the top. The guards are going to be able to do that, but usually without a size advantage or strength advantage. That's the difference with Minnesota. They have size and strength to get to their short range scoring. Lastly, another Gortat screen, this time from Rudy Gobert. Julius drives on Devin Vassell. Watch Rudy Gobert get into Wemby's body as soon as the drive happens. Look at how he just gets into his body and just fights him. That basically glues Wemby to the ground so that he can't get up and block that shot. That's why Wemby didn't jump there. He didn't jump because Gobert is literally forcing him to end up in basically a physical positioning battle underneath the basket. All right, Knicks-Sixers, just a few clips from this game. I want to primarily focus. There's one drop coverage rep in here, but you guys, everyone understands drop coverage scoring. It's pretty basic, right? I really am focusing on the other coverages that we saw and why they don't work. Here we're going to get a peel switch. So basically, Grimes actually does a good job on this one, chasing over the top. This is a good drop coverage rep from Grimes. Gets over the screen, funnels him into Embiid. But because of Cat on the pop, they peel switch. And now you have Embiid guarding Brunson. And this is just as a disaster. I don't need to break this down. You guys just watch. That is about as easy as it gets with attacking a big on a switch. So now they're going to try and at the level coverage. Embiid comes up to the level. He's going to meet Brunson on the right side of the screen. Brunson does a great job selling this. Watch how he sits in the high hesitation dribble in his right hand. But he's doing this entire time. He's setting up for a right to left push cross. His feet are pushing right. His knees are pushing right. His hips are pushing right. His shoulders, his face, his hesitation dribble. Everything is keyed to the right. So as a result, Embiid's on the right side of the screen and Grimes is facing the right, prepping with that right foot to get over the top so he can meet Brunson over there. Reject. Boom. Look at them. Look at both of them going right. Absolutely toast them. Can't really help off of OG. Little dig down. Pretty easy floater for Brunson. So at the level ain't going to work. This is the one drop coverage rep I wanted to show you because this is what it looks like when it doesn't work well. When you get wiped out by the screen, that allows Brunson to settle into pull-up threes, which these are just too efficient. He gets a favorable bounce on this one. But Brunson hits, don't have the numbers in front of me, but he hits around like 35, 36% of his pull-up threes. That's a pretty efficient shot in the playoffs on a large sample. All right, this is a 2 on the ball circumstance here on a guard screen. So if you try to get the ball out of Brunson's hands in any circumstance by putting 2 on the ball, you end up in rotation, right? So Brunson draws 2. Embiid has to rotate to deuce. Now you're in rotation. Josh Hart ends up getting a clean look, misses it, but you're in rotation, right? Because you're in rotation, look at everyone else. As Embiid goes, Kelly Oubre has to leave Hukporti over to Josh Hart in the corner. This leaves Hukporti by himself for the offensive rebound. So as a result, Quentin Grimes has to leave Mikal Bridges to run in and box out. Runs into box out. Mikal Bridges by himself. Easy offensive rebound. When you're in rotation, it's hard to rebound. Gets it. Brunson and Deuce both wide open. Brunson hits the 3 to end the half. So 2 on the ball ain't going to work either. This is that like kind of matchup zone switching thing that they do sometimes. Like it's really essentially a way to try to prevent Embiid from even having to go up into ball screens. It's a man-to-man look, but it's like it's kind of like match because everyone is matched up with a man, but it's got a zone structure in that everyone kind of tries to stay in a specific spot on the floor. So in that sense, it's very much a matchup zone. But as you can see, like everyone is matched up man to man. Embiid's on OG. We get a screen. They're trying not to switch that. Now, as they go to Cat, they want to rescue Oubre. So Embiid ends up scramming him out. Okay. Scrams him out. Oubre now is in rotation, right? So because he scrams him out to try to help prevent a mismatch there, Oubre is now in rotation. He's not matched up with anybody. That allows Mikal Bridges to sneak along the baseline. And by the time Oubre actually turns his head to try to see who he's guarding, he turns his head in the wrong direction. Mikal's wide open. Easy one. Another possession with him on OG Anunoby. Again, trying to just protect him in the cat ball screen so they can switch the cat ball screen. But then they just bring OG up. Brunson drives off. Embiid's at the level. 2 on the ball. Easy pitch back to OG. Really nice like clear cut here from Cat. Watch as Cat cuts. And when he cuts, it gets Paul George to peek to his right. And he's peeking to his right as the pass is being made, which makes it so that he can't close out on time. Easy catch and shoot 3 for OG Anunoby. So again, the main point I'm trying to make there is I think even though the drop coverage is an advantage for Brunson in his own way, if you execute it well and you chase him over the top and you funnel him off the 3-point line into tough contested 2s, you have a chance to win the math battle. But if you get wiped out on screen, so it's comfortable 2s or it's 3s, it's just really difficult to keep up math-wise. No matter what, though, as you guys saw, all of those other looks, the matchup zones, the 2 on the ball, the at the level, the peel switch, all that kind of stuff is just going to end up in wide open 3s for the Knicks. They move the basketball too well. They rebound too well when you're in rotation. They have some size advantages on the floor on the perimeter anyway. I just think all those other coverages are a disaster. So your best chance is to stay out of rotation and make Jalen Brunson score 45 points on you and drop. And it'll get easier if you, because Cat obviously presents the pick and pop as a counter. So Embiid, the onus is on him to try to play Cat off the floor through foul trouble and aggression on offense. Get Mitchell Robinson on the floor, sit in a drop, do a better job chasing over the top, make life harder for Brunson as a drop coverage scorer. Try to avoid those other coverages where you can run into trouble in rotation. All right, guys, that's all I have for this morning. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting us and supporting the show. We'll be back tonight after the final buzzer of Spurs-Wolves. I will see you guys then.